Honorable Chair, the ex-Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University, Professor Dr. Anurullah Chaudhary, our chief guest, Dr. Khandakar Musharraf Hussain sir, and our distinguished special guest, Professor Dr. Waqil Ahmed, Dr. Khalil Rahman, Dr. Maslam, Dr. Abdullah Siddiqui, Shikdar, distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Well, today I'm going to submit my thesis books. It's a little opening ceremony, what I had done for the last 5 years staying abroad. As you know, I was the State Minister of Education from 2001 to 2006. During that 5 years, it's like a blink in the eyes. The time passed so fast. I couldn't even remember. It's like one nightmare that I was a minister and my 5 years is gone. While I was a minister, I dreamed to do a lot for the country. But unfortunately, I don't know how much I could do, how much I did. You see, the failure list is too long. So I don't want to tell you the failure list or what I couldn't do. I don't want to submit that list. But the success list is very, very short. So if I remember my success list, then I can say, well, knockout Pratirudh, one of the highest things I try to do. Because I passed my SSC exam in the year of 1972, and that is the time, the Knockout's birthday, 1972. And then teachers' recruitment policy was the most important things which we did in our time. Grade system, creative examination system for the teachers' retirement benefits, welfare funds, curriculum and syllabus, festival bonus, all those things we had done during my time, including Chhatka Nidhan Pratirudh Andolan in my Chatpur district, which benefit you are getting now all over the country. Suddenly, after 28 October 2006, the nightmare started in our political life. Anyway, passing that 2 years' time, sitting at an idle home, 9th Parliament election, we faced that, and we lost the election. I didn't lose the election, but unfortunately, the High Court and Supreme Court gave a verdict that I was the Parliament member. But I was so unfortunate that I couldn't get into the Parliament House. I don't want to go that far. Well, then I decided in the year 2009, I'll go for Barrett Law. I got admitted in London School of Law. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue because there were so many false cases against me and the nonsense cases against me. They put me in prison for a long, long time. Coming out from the jail, and the year 2014, we are close to the election. Well, I enjoy the jail, like my teacher, Dr. Khandakar Musharraf Hussain sir. I have seen, he wrote so many books in the jail. I try to use optimum my time in the jail, and I believe that is a remarkable time I passed in the jail, and that gave me a lot of lessons. And thinking, being a politician in jail, when I'll be out, I have to do a lot of things, and keeping that in mind, the 10th Parliament election was knocking to the door. But our party regret not to join to the election. In the year of 2014, I have 37, they launched 37 cases, including snatching the vanity bags. You gentlemen keep your telephone mobile good because you know, I have so many cases snatching the telephone mobile phone. So you better be careful, and ladies, you could check out your
60-year lady.
that I don't want to remember. Anyway, in the year of 2014, 60 plus. Not 60, 70 years old lady. Yeah. You are giving 10 years younger than 70. Anyway, End of the 2014, I decided to go for Umrah. And January 5th, 2015, our party will go for education program, so I was ready to come back. Suddenly, they canceled all the bills and I couldn't get into the country, and the whole country was in hortals and all other education programs. Roaming around, especially the GSC country, I visited so many workers' camp, and I found that there the Bangladeshi peoples, Indians, Nepalese, Bhutanese, Sri Lankans, Thailand's people, they are living in the same camp. But in the morning they goes by the same bus. Our people earns less than 1,000 riyal. They earns more than 3,000-4,000 riyals because they knows little bit know how to handle the technical matters. So I realized that we are far behind in technical sectors. Unskilled workers in all over the Middle East. Finally, I went up in Malaysia and get admitted in International Islamic University in the Department of Political Science. I had the opportunity to choose my thesis paper, and I was following the current concurrence of the country, which one would be the best to do, to think about future, and to help my motherland and the nations. Though I was in the Ministry of Education, I find myself the madrasa education and technical education are neglected. The poor earning families members, they usually goes to the madrasa education as well as technical education. While I was in the United States in the 80s, studying my MBA down there, and I found the technical education is the most important education to them. As you all know, in the history and the development of the world, and you would find the technical education is the priority education for all of other nations. Keeping in that mind, I realized that I must look into the technical education. You see, this is the time for Bangladesh to pay the demographic dividends. Bangladesh, the current government is a very lucky government that in the year of 2007, the demographic dividends started. In our country, 15 to 64%, 15 to 64 ages peoples are working people. They are usually the 65% of the nation's population. 5% are more than 65%, 65 of age, and 30% of the nations are below 15 years of age. Our poverty level is 24.3. Our GDP growth is enormous, but at the same time, unemployment increases. So it's a big mismatch. I looked into that matter. The dividends, geographic dividends, has to be counted now. It remains 30 to 35 years. So if we count it from 2007, it will go 2042. If we don't use this properly, and the country will have faced a freaking bomb at the end of the 2042 or 2050. The population will be increased. All those things giving me the idea that how to optimize uses this national resource, I mean the human resource. At the same time, when you see the Industrial Revolution 1 with the steam engine started in the 17th century. Industrial Revolution 2 started in the 19th century, like electricity, power, all those things. If we talk about the Industrial Revolution 3rd, which is the computers and all others, internets, these things started in 1969s or 70s. Now we are in the era of Industrial Revolution 4. Artificial intelligence, robotics, nanotechnology, 3D, all these things are now, we are facing this thing. You see, very recently, our garment sector is not doing that much well because we have to face and we have to cope up with this nanotechnology and artificial intelligence and robotics. You see in the morning, if you go to this guy industrial area or Gulshan or Tongi, Gazipur, you see thousands of workers, they're working. And they're at the age of 15 to 40, 45, 50 years of old. All these people are underpaid. They are not getting their salary highest. In this competitive era, we must face the technology. Without technology, we cannot go ahead. If we talk about the Millennium Development Goal in the 17th, the SD4 is technology, technical education. So this is the time to look into the technology. Based on that thinking and thinking about our futures, I started working human capital development in Bangladesh through technical and vocational education and training. As you know, vocational education and technical education is an endless education. You can get it anytime, always. You can enjoy that. So I'm not going to show my slides. Human capital and socio-economic development in Bangladesh. So TVET to me is the most important, and the large proportions of the students, they are not interested in TVET. While I was doing my thesis, my senior professors, teachers, they know that I have to go for at least 20 thesis papers regarding the TVET, but I couldn't find. I found only 4 papers in Bangladesh, and that's people do not do in the same socio-economic development or human capital development. They did in the pedagogy, curriculum, and all other things. But most important to me, the socio-economic development in Bangladesh. I'll go very fast with the slide. Well, this first slide, introduction remarks. Bangladesh got independent in 1971. High incidence of poverty, poverty level is around that time in 1972 for 80%. Low per capita income, less than $100. We started our journey like that, and badly damaged infrastructure. 1974, huge food shortage and famines, so-called Henry Kissinger test case, international basket case, as we all know about it. In the 2015, Bangladesh crossed threshold of the World Bank defined lower middle country, LMIC. Here we are standing right now. In the 2015 and 19, per capita income raises up to 1909 USD. Poverty rate currently 22% and GDP growth is 8.1. As I said earlier, GDP might grow, but unemployment when it increases, it doesn't match us. And that is also another problem we'll face it. Bangladesh, a new Asian tiger for the higher growth. In 2021, Bangladesh aspired to achieve middle income status. As you know, in the 2021, we have to keep this status, otherwise will be dropped from there. In the 2030, eliminate extreme poverty, Sustainable Development Goal 1. The role of human capital development is most important, and it cannot be overemphasized. As we all know, people always investment in the education. In education, there is a tangible asset, intangible asset. Mostly when we invest in the education, we don't get any return from the education. We might feel it an intangible asset, but we have to make it tangible. We need to have the return. In the broad sense, human capital includes education, skill, training, health, and other related factors of workers. Every government in Bangladesh has given the priority investment in human capital through per capita public expenditure on the health and education. And Bangladesh is spending only $11.50 per person. It's very low, but in compare with India, it's 18. In Sri Lanka, it's 35. And this is also another point we have to look into it. Due to the lack of the investment in the health, education, human capital in Bangladesh is not matches to the demand of the labor market. Hence, the country could not reach its potential level of development. Well, 21st century educational attainment is not enrollment. While we were serving as a minister, we gave more importance building school infrastructure development and as well as the enrollment. Enrollment doesn't make any difference unless the quality education we can provide. So nowadays, the quality education is not the government is providing that much. Sustainable Development Goal 4 out of 17. Quality education adequately focused on the TVET and skill development. This is the important part in Sustainable Development Goal number 4. As I said earlier, demographic dividend offering Bangladesh once in a lifetime. Demographic dividends for the nations, it doesn't circle around, it doesn't come. If you compare with Japan, the young folks earn so much and save so much that now the old generation are enjoying that. Even in China, they are going the same way. So, to improve the TVET system, government initiative during our time, and this government also, they have initiative, and so many national technical and vocational qualification framework, all those things. National Skill Development Policy 211, Skill and Training Enhancement Project. These are the projects during our time we took, and this government also tried to take this project despite their effort. They have a plan and vision to go ahead in the technical education. This book will give you the in-depth study of TVET related to the human capital and socio-economic development. This is the conceptual framework. Here, the education Anyway, education goes to TVET and general education. But up to this, we can go here. It's like a grade 8. Education is the primary education, elementary education. From here, it goes up to this point. In our country, it's a grade 8. From there, we go to SSC vocational, ACC vocational, it's a TVET. And from here, we go to the general education. I am not, in this paper, there is nothing we go to the general education. We went to the TVET, technical vocational education and training. From here, my thesis, my research work is in TVET. And general education, here the quality education starts. If the elementary education is not good, the primary education is not good, then you don't get the quality education in the general education. As I said, general education goes to improve the human capitals, and at the same time, we go to the TVET. TVET can enhance human capital, and human capital develop, then automatically it contributes in socio-economic development. This is the whole conceptual framework. These are my research questions, research objective. These are the primary, qualitative methods. As you know, we have a qualitative methods and quantitative methods. We applied both. This is the current education system. I'm not going to go there. Education system in Bangladesh starts from British colonized Bangladesh, and they want to keep their colony intact. That's the reason they taught us English, and they have not that much we have seen in the British education system. Education Commission in Bangladesh, education in Bangladesh. It's education Bangladesh at a glance. We are here trying to just show you the technical and vocational education, number of institutions, total student, female student, and then total, and then girls, and then teachers-student ratio, and then teachers per institution. You see, teachers per institution is very low, only 5. So no matter what we say, the government is trying to improve, but the teachers ratio is only 5. TVET in Bangladesh, education is the key of the development, as we say. If education is the key of the development, TVET is the master key. That's how we found in our research. TVET is no longer a dead street. It's a lifelong learning. Like say, our professors, they're giving lectures in the classes every day. They're learning the technical education, even using the computers, all other tools. So it is an endless education. Well, TVET in Bangladesh, here I try to show you a little bit. Before 1947, public institute was 21 and private was only 1. Now, in 1947 to 1971, it raises up to 42. 72 to 90, during this time only 32, 33. You see, it's a so low number, and the private rose up to 20. 91 to 2000, the private sector went up 248, and this 10 years, 17 more institutes added in the Bangladesh technical sector. Now here, 2001 to 2013, in this 12 years, it roses up to 124 in the public sector. And the private sector, it went up 1,094. So now, in private sector, people are more interested in the TVET sector. To measure the role of TVET in the context of human capital development in Bangladesh. I'm just showing a little bit. Number of the TVET institutes increases in the year of 2000. There are 1,140 technical and vocational institutions. In the year of 2016, it went up to 5,900. Now people are giving importance in the TVET sector. From 1,100 to it went to 6,000 during 2000 to 2016. Student enrollment increases. Student enrollment has increased as 116,000 to 875,000 during the period. So now it's catching up. People trying to understand that yes, TVET is very important. To identify TVET users' contribution in the socio-economic development in Bangladesh. So here we give a little survey, what are the student feels like, how they get job likes, all this data is here. The same thing here. Tibet and SCD in Bangladesh survey findings 2. Tibet SCD Bangladesh survey findings is in the books. So who will be interested to look at the data and the graph, you can find up to 2017 data is here. Tibet and socio-economic development in Bangladesh, that 4, 5. Okay, Tibet and SCD in Bangladesh analyzing the interviews on the motivational factors in choosing Tibet. We took the 30 samples and took the interview, and we asked their motivational things, why and how they're interested, and then policy implication. Well, this is the chapter, this is the page I want to discuss a little bit more. Gender disparity elimination, more TTS and VTS, polytechnics and urban and rural area. In our country, most of the institutions are in the urban areas. In the rural areas, there are not that many Tibet institutions. In Chatpur district, in Kochua, I established one Tibet Polytechnic Institute in Kochua, the remote areas. Quality assurance, syllabus, curriculum, training, machineries and teaching adequate budgets, these are the problems. Coordinations of 23 ministries. I want to address Dr. Khandakar Musharraf Hussain sir. In our country, in the 23 ministries addresses the Tibet, including your health ministry also. You name it, every ministry addresses the Tibet. And though every ministry is addressing the Tibet, there is no synchronized, there are no harmonized, and it is not controlled. And that is the reason Tibet, even expatriate ministry they are using, fishery ministry they are using, female welfare ministry, even cultural ministry, every ministry has a Tibet. And Tibet is not synchronized. So my recommendation from this thesis paper, coming from the chapter 5, the surveys and qualitative and quantitative analysis, the Bangladesh needs to have a Tibet ministry, because expatriate and the government sector are in this sector. These are the sector, they earn the foreign remittance. And the country is based on the foreign remittance, as we all understand. So the recommendation came here, the Bangladesh should establish one single ministry, and that called Tibet, Technical and Vocational Training Ministry. I don't know which government will do it, but this is very important to do it. And in our country, I have experience while I'm doing this thesis. I went to Sri Lanka, I went to Thailand, I went to Vietnam, I went to Cambodia for Tibet study, which way and how they developed the Tibet. And I found in Sri Lanka they have a Tibet university. I was surprised, the Tibet university, and I went to visit that Tibet university. It is a full-fledged university, but the student doesn't have to have a certification for after 12th grade they will be admitted in Tibet. It's not like that. You go to a village, let's say we are going in Daudkandi, Bajar, Stars neighborhood. They found a boy who is working, let's say, in the technology of telephone or radio, television or some kind of things, that the boy is very bright. They picks up this kind of innovative and creative people. And they admit in the universities, no matter their grade student, 8th grade or 2nd grade or 3rd grade. They teach some kind of little bit education, how to read and write, and after that they give them the technical education. And from that technical education, the student, they segregated the student in different process, and whoever good, they help them to go for higher study. And finally, when the interesting subject, they have done their work, they learn something theoretical and practical, then the government give them a budget and help them and give them a loan or donation or grant to establish their respective fields in the business also. So that's in Sri Lanka, their results is very good. Tibet University is one of the, technical and vocational university is a very good university. We could establish one technical and vocational university in Bangladesh. My experience is from Sri Lanka. And public-private partnership. Well, we need the public-private partnership. Let's say Korean people comes here, they want people for expatriate to work in Korea. We just send the people with two hands and head and two legs. So properly this company when that comes, we need to give the proper people, proper training, and we need a correlations with them. And that's a public and private partnership has to be done. Let's say Chattur Political Institute, someone is building high profile any industry, whatever that is. With the demand, government should train our people and develop our people and then supply. So public and private partnership is very important in the TVET sector. Political, as we all know, there's a problem in political. I'm just skipping that part. Legislators is very important in this sector. So legislator has to look in this matter and go for the development of the TVET. This is a little summary of my book, which one I did it during my 4 years leisure time, starting from 2015 to 2018. I graduated 2018, month of November 10th, and then I came back to Bangladesh, and I was put in prison. I didn't have the right even to go to the court. That was my bad luck. Here, one distinguished gentleman is sitting in front of me who helped me out to get admission. Is my dear friend Dr. Aziz. Give him a big hand for him. I got to university while I met. It's a very interesting story. Our professor, Dr. East West University, Shamsher sir, Shamsher Ali sir, he went to Malaysia for a seminar, Quran and Science, as you know. He always gives lecture on that. So I was stuck in Saudi Arabia, I couldn't come. So Dr. Aziz sent me invitation that you come to Malaysia, join in the seminar with Dr. Shamsher Ali sir. So I went to Malaysia to attend his seminar with Dr. Shamsher Ali, and then I requested the university to give me admission, and they gave me admission, and finally I stayed for 4 years, continuous, and finished my PhD, and here I am. Thank you so much, everyone. A patient listening my little speech, and I understand our population, sometimes we call it a problem, but I don't see it's a problem. I say it's an asset, it's a resource. Bangladesh is the luckiest country in the earth. More people are taking birth, and 30 developed nations, more people are dying, less people are taking birth. That demographic dividends we have to enjoy, and the enjoying time is not that long, it's only for next 35 years. So within the 35 years, we must develop the education sector, especially in the technical sector. If we don't do it, and that would be a freaking bomb, and that would be a disaster for the country. So we must look into this matter. Thank you very much, distinguished professors, teachers. You came here giving you enough time to listen this little speech, and I hope while we'll have a chance to apply again, especially our Professor Dr. Khandagar Mashar, I believe and I know, inshallah, the day is not that far. He will be back in power. He will be again in the chair to administer Bangladesh. And that has to be given the most highest priority. Thank you very much. May Allah bless all of you.
আমার কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে যে আপনি বিগত দিনে বাংলাদেশের শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থার টেকনিক্যাল ডেভেলপমেন্টের জন্য ভোকেশনাল শিক্ষার জন্য আপনি অনেক অবদান রেখেছেন। সেটা বাংলাদেশের ফরমার যে গভর্নমেন্ট ছিল দেশনেত্রী বেগম খালেদা জিয়ার নেতৃত্বে সেটা ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়াইড ফেমাস হয়েছে, এবং আমরা বাংলাদেশের শিক্ষা ক্ষেত্রে যে আপনি যে ডেভেলপমেন্ট করেছেন সেটা সত্যি প্রশংসিত। আজকে আমরা দেশে যে ক্রাইসিস ফিল করছি শিক্ষার ক্ষেত্রে, আমি একটা কথা না বললেই নয়, কত কিছুদিন আগে পিএইচডি পরীক্ষা হয়েছে উত্তরবঙ্গে। কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে আপনি যদি আবার যদি আপনার গভর্নমেন্ট ক্ষমতায় আসে, আপনি যদি শিক্ষামন্ত্রী হন, তাহলে এই দেশের এই শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থার জন্য আপনি ভবিষ্যতের ট্রেনিং এর উপর আপনি ফিউচারে কি করতে চান যদি আপনি আবার মন্ত্রী হন? এটা হচ্ছে আমার কোশ্চেন।
It's third difference. My question is, Bangladesh government for failure this better. We know technical education is the best part of human life, but Bangladesh government totally failed for this matter. We say to this question answer.
Vocational education training is not that true. Because the figure I showed you earlier, the enrollment of the student and the institution are getting more and more in Bangladesh. During our time, under the leadership of Begum Khaleda Jia, we established 64 district, 64 polytechnic institutions. That was our project. And we established SSC vocational. During the late President Shahid Zia Rahman's time, that time those who passes from the diploma courses, they could get admitted in the Dhaka, University of Technical Education. You can have the master's degree. As I said, it's endless education. Let's say grade 9, you were SSC vocational, class 10, you passes the SSC in technical and vocational, then you go to 12th grade, SSC vocational. From there you can go TVET, you can go Dhaka University, you can go general education, as well as you have the opportunity to go ahead with the technical education. So technical education, you can go other branches of the education. What we are trying to do in the West, because this is a densely populated country in the world, and we are the 8th largest remittance earner in the world, and our remittance are the main earning sources of the country. So based on that, the population has to be utilized. That is the reason we are giving more concentrations on technical education. Furthermore, technical education is not an expensive education. It is a very less expensive education, and the government gives a lot of subsidy. Only the people doesn't know the technical education has a future and prospect in our country, and that is the reason we need to campaign. In our survey report, a lot of people doesn't want to go technical education because they realize or they feel that technical education is a low-grade education. Basically, it is not. Basically, it is not. Technical education is a very, very important and demanding education. And also I say, if we don't utilize our manpower in this sector, the country will face a demographic dividends. That dividends will not be utilized. As I said, that will be freaking bomb. It means in the year 2020, 42 or 2050, when the population will go 250 million, at that time what the country will do, the more older people will be in the country and less younger generation in the country. To face that problem, to match that problem, from today, we have to look into this education. That is the reason Sustainable Development Goal 17 goals out of 17. Number 4 goals is a technical education. That is where we must address. Thank you so much.
I am Dr. Monir Islam, Dean College of Engineering, IUBAT. Now I am leading 4 engineering departments, so I know about this this TVET. Sir, আমি বাংলা কোশ্চেন করতেছি বিকজ আমাদের কাছে বেসিক দুইটা বেসিক ফান্ডামেন্টাল প্রবলেম আমি রেজ করতে চাচ্ছি। একটা হলো আমরা যদি দেখি যে টিবেটে যারা এডুকেশন নিচ্ছে তারা এসএসসি পাস করার পর তারা 4 বছর পড়ালেখা করার পর 3 বছরে গ্র্যাজুয়েশন পাওয়ার একটা সম্ভাবনা, এদিকে 7 বছর লাগতেছে। আর যদি সে এসএসসি পাস করে গ্র্যাজুয়েশন করে তাহলে 6 ইয়ার্স লাগতেছে, 1 ইয়ার বেশি লাগতেছে এখানে। তো আমরা সেই 1 বছরটাকে স্টুডেন্টদের কিভাবে অ্যাড্রেস করব, একটা জিনিস। আরেকটা জিনিস, অ্যাট দিস মোমেন্ট আমরা যে জিনিসটা ফেস করতেছি, ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হলে গ্র্যাজুয়েট হলে তাকে এখন আইবি অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন লাগে। সো অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন দিতে গেলে ওয়াশিংটন অ্যাকর্ড আমাদের পরে আমাদের আগামী বছর এটা সেট আপ করেছে। আমরা অ্যাট দিস মোমেন্ট আমরা অ্যাসোসিয়েট মেম্বার। বাই 2021 যদি আমরা ফুল মেম্বার না হতে পারি তাহলে আমাদের যে ইয়াটা আছে আমাদের এটা ক্যান্সেল হয়ে যাবে অ্যাসোসিয়েট মেম্বারশিপটা, এবং আমাদের ইঞ্জিনিয়াররা ওয়ার্ল্ড রিকগনাইজড হবে না। যদি তারা অ্যাবিটের মেম্বার হতে পারে বা ওয়াশিংটন মেম্বার হতে পারে তাহলে যে কোনো দেশে গেলে আর ইকুইভ্যালেন্সি করা লাগবে না, নর্থ আমেরিকান যে কোনো দেশে অ্যাজ ইঞ্জিনিয়ার তারা চাকরি করতে পারবে। আমি যেহেতু প্রাইভেট বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় আছি, আমি যে প্রবলেমটা ফেস করি, এখন যারা পলিটেকনিকের থেকে বা ভোকেশনাল থেকে পড়ালেখা করে আসে তাদেরকে আবার 4 ইয়ার্স কিন্তু গ্র্যাজুয়েশন দেওয়া, 3 বছর আমরা দিতে পারি না। কারণ 3 বছর যদি আমরা পড়ালেখা করতে দিই তাহলে আইবি আবার অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন দিচ্ছে না। এই প্রবলেমগুলোকে যদি আপনি অ্যাড্রেস করেন বা আমরা কিভাবে এটা ওভারকাম করতে পারি, কারণ এটা সিস্টেমটা ভালো। জাপানে কোসেন বলে একটা সিস্টেম আছে, তারা কিন্তু এই সিস্টেমে এসে তারা পিএইচডি পর্যন্ত করতে পারে। যেটা আমরা জাপানে অনেকে আছেন স্যার, আপনারা পড়ালেখা করে আসছেন, জাপানে কিন্তু এই গ্রাজুয়েটটা টেকনিক্যাল লাইনে বেশি। কিন্তু আমাদের দেশে আমরা কাইন্ডলি প্রবলেমটা ফেস করতেছি যে বিগত দিনে আমরা দেখা গেছে স্টুডেন্টদেরকে যারা ওয়েবার কিছু কিছু সাবজেক্ট 3 বছর আমরা পাস করে দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা করেছিলাম, কিন্তু বর্তমানে আইবি সেটা অ্যালাউ করতেছে না। 4 ইয়ার্সই লাগবে, এখানে কোনো কোর্স ওয়েবার দেওয়া যাবে না, দিলে স্টুডেন্টটা অ্যাক্রিডিটেড হবে না সে। তো এই জিনিসটাকে আমরা ইন ফিউচারে কিভাবে অ্যাড্রেস করতে পারি, বা আপনি এখানে একটু অ্যাড্রেস করছেন কিনা, বা রিসার্চ আমি আপনার একটা ক্লু দিচ্ছি ফার্দার রিসার্চের এই লাইনটাতে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
এই প্রশ্নের উত্তরটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেটিভ ম্যাটার। আল্লাহ যদি কোনোদিন আমাদেরকে সে অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেটিভ সেক্টরে কোনো সুযোগ সৃষ্টি করে দেন, তখন অবশ্যই আপনারা এটা দেখতে হবে।
আমি উত্তরটা দেই।
জি স্যার।
হলো যে অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন কাউন্সিল করার অর্থবর্ষ দেওয়া হয়েছিল যখন এই কৃষকের প্রবণতা ছিল, এই উদ্যোগ নেওয়া হয়েছিল, কিন্তু সেটা শেষ পর্যন্ত করা হয়নি। ইট ইজ এ কোয়েশ্চেন অফ অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন। এটা থিসিসের বিষয় না। আমি বুঝতে পেরেছি আপনার প্রশ্ন। আই আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড ইউর কোয়েশ্চেন। প্রশ্নটা হলো যে এটা মানে রাষ্ট্রীয়ভাবে দেশের যে কর্তৃপক্ষ তাদেরকে এই বিষয়টি সমাধান করতে হবে। এই যে আমাদের ছেলে মেয়েদের কত অসুবিধা হয় যে অ্যাক্রিডিটেশনের জন্য আর কি, আপনি যেটা বলছেন অত্যন্ত সঙ্গত কারণেই বলেছেন এবং খুবই রেলিভেন্ট একটা কোয়েশ্চেন, কিন্তু এটা মানে কেউ সলভ করতে পারবে না, আমরা কেউ এককভাবে সলভ করতে পারবো না। ইট ইজ এ ন্যাশনাল ইস্যু এবং এটার সমাধান একমাত্র ন্যাশনাল অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন কাউন্সিল গঠনের মাধ্যমেই হবে। এটাই উত্তর আর কি। তবে যে আপনি বলছেন যে ইউএস এর সাথে একটা আপনার ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং এ কিছু কিছু অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন হচ্ছে আর কি, একটা সুযোগ আছে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
আমি প্রথমে ধন্যবাদ জানাই সাংবাদিক মিলন ভাইকে। একজন রাজনীতিবিদ হিসেবে এই বয়সে এসে ফান্ডামেন্টাল ইস্যুতে গবেষণা করা, এটা সত্যি আমাদের দেশে এক্সেপশনাল। সো আমি একজন রাজনীতির মানুষ হিসেবে মিলন ভাইকে জন্য প্রথমে ধন্যবাদ জানাই। দ্বিতীয়ত আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে কিছুটা অ্যাপ্লাইড লেভেলে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে ভোকেশনাল এবং টেকনিক্যাল জায়গাটাতে ইউনিভার্সিটি করার চাইতে আমি মনে করি যে আমাদের রুরাল এবং একদম মানে পেরিফেরি লেভেলে ইনস্টিটিউট ডেভেলপ করাটা খুব বেশি প্রয়োজন। সেক্ষেত্রে আপনি যে ইআরআইটা প্রতিষ্ঠা করেছেন, আমরা কি এরকম প্রত্যাশা করতে পারি যে ইআরআই এর ব্যানারে আপনি একটা মুভমেন্ট শুরু করবেন যে বাংলাদেশের মানুষকে জাগ্রত করার জন্য যে এই টেকনিক্যাল এবং ভোকেশনাল মানে এডুকেশনটা বা ট্রেনিংটা যাতে আমাদের ইয়তরা গ্রাম থেকে ব্যাপকভাবে এটা শুরু করে, এদেরকে জাগ্রত করা। কারণ আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে এই ভোকেশনাল ট্রেনিংটার জন্য যদি কিছু ইনসেনটিভ দেওয়া যায়, কিছু সাপোর্ট দেওয়া যায়, তাহলে কিন্তু সবাই উৎসাহিত হবে। বাট এটার জন্য একটা সোশ্যাল মুভমেন্ট দরকার। আপনি কি এই ধরনের কোনো সোশ্যাল মুভমেন্ট শুরু করার পরিকল্পনা করছেন কিনা?
বেসিক্যালি আজকে এই ইআরআই এডুকেশন রিফর্ম ইনিশিয়েটিভ, এটা কোনো আন্দোলন না, এটা রিফর্ম একটা ইনিশিয়েটিভ আমরা নিয়েছি এবং এই প্রোগ্রামটা আমরা শুরু করেছি এই রিসার্চার অ্যান্ড প্রফেসরস অ্যান্ড এডুকেশনিস্ট, ইমিনেন্ট এডুকেশনিস্ট দিয়ে আমরা শুরু করেছি। আমরা সকলে নিশ্চয়ই বোধ করি যে এডুকেশনকে আমাদের সবচেয়ে বেশি প্রায়োরিটাইজ করতে হবে। যেহেতু সাবেক দায়িত্ব নিয়ে কাজ করেছিলাম এই সেক্টরে এবং সেখান থেকে আমার একটা কমিটমেন্ট রয়েছে যে এই সেক্টরে কাজ করা উচিত। স্কোপ যেহেতু অনেক কম বাইরে থাকে, তারপরেও এই সেক্টরটাকে আপহোল্ড করার জন্য এই ইআরআই জন্ম হয়েছে, এডুকেশন রিফর্ম ইনিশিয়েটিভ। এবং এটা আমরা একাডেমিশিয়ান দিয়ে এটার মধ্যে আমরা কাজ করব এবং এটাকে আমরা একটু রাজনীতির বাইরেও রাখবো। ইট ইজ এ কমপ্লিটলি নন পলিটিক্যাল অর্গানাইজেশন, আমরা সেভাবে কাজ করছি এবং আমরা এই এডুকেশন সেক্টরে কাজ করব এবং আমাদের গুণীজন, আমাদের শ্রদ্ধেয় শিক্ষক যারা আছেন আস্তে আস্তে উপলব্ধি করতে পারবেন যে এই ইনস্টিটিউট এই মানে আমাদের সংগঠনের মধ্য দিয়ে, অর্গানাইজেশনের মধ্য দিয়ে আমরা শিক্ষার কথা তুলে ধরবো। ওয়েল, এটাও সত্য যে আমি মিলন একাডেমিশিয়ান হলেও না হলেও আমি পলিটিশিয়ান, কিন্তু আমাদের যেমন প্রফেসর ওবায়েদ, I can consider he is an academician as well as politician, but academician come first, then politician. বাট আমার বেলায় আসে পলিটিশিয়ান ফার্স্ট দেন একাডেমিশিয়ান। আমাদের ডক্টর খন্দকার মোশাররফ হোসেন স্যার, আমরা ওনাকে ধরবো প্রথমে একাডেমিশিয়ান, ইমিনেন্ট এডুকেশনিস্ট, প্রফেসর, ডক্টর, and then I'll come to the politics. তো it is a vice versa. তো ERI জন্ম আজকে এই প্রথম দিনের প্রথম অনুষ্ঠানে এই শুভলগ্নে আমরা ওই ধরনের গুণীজনকে নিয়ে এই অনুষ্ঠানটা শুরু করেছি যে এই অনুষ্ঠানের চিফ গেস্ট হওয়ার মতো আমাদের আরো অনেক জন ছিল, কিন্তু আমরা ভেবেছি যে রাজনীতির মধ্য দিয়ে সমাজের উন্নয়ন করতে হবে এবং শিক্ষাকে গুরুত্ব দিতে হলে এই মঞ্চে যারা উপস্থিত রয়েছেন এই ধরনের গুণীজন, শিক্ষাবিদ এবং রাজনীতিবিদের প্রয়োজন। Chicken or eggs? Egg, chicken. Which one comes first? I'm just Musharraf sir কথা বলি, what is the first? Educationist or politician? Politician or educationist? I can consider both. That is the reason a very remarkable guest in the opening ceremony of ERI, and it will continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
সারা বিশ্ব বা আমাদের দেশ আমরা গর্বিত যে আপনি একসময় আমাদের শিক্ষাকে এগিয়ে নেওয়ার জন্য নকল বন্ধ করে দিয়েছিলেন সারা বাংলাদেশে, সেটা আমরা খ্যাত। কিন্তু এখন তো শুধু এই নকলের পূর্বে প্রশ্নই আউট হয়ে যাচ্ছে, সেটা বন্ধের জন্য ভবিষ্যতে আপনার কোনো পরিকল্পনা থাকবে কিনা সেটা জানতে চাই।
সৃজনশীল নিয়ে কিন্তু অনেক কথা বলে। এই সৃজনশীল এই ধরনের পদ্ধতি যখন বাংলাদেশ শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থা আসবে, অটোমেটিক্যালি এই নকল বা এই প্রশ্ন আউট এগুলি এলিমিনেট হয়ে যাবে। মানে এডুকেশন সিস্টেমটাকে টোটালি চেঞ্জ করতে হবে। আমেরিকান একটা স্টুডেন্ট সে নকল করতে চাইলেও করতে পারে না। আর স্যারও দিয়েছেন, আমরাও মাদ্রাস দিয়েছি, আমরাও ওপেন বুক এক্সাম দিয়েছি। স্যারও ওনাদের ক্লাসে অনেকে আমরা ওপেন বুক এক্সাম দিয়েছেন, আমি নিজেও ওপেন বুক এক্সামই তো হওয়ার পদ্ধতি শুরু হয়ে গিয়েছে। তো অতএব ওগুলি আস্তে আস্তে মডার্নাইজড এডুকেশনে নকল আর প্রশ্নপত্র আউট এগুলি আস্তে আস্তে এলিমিনেট হয়ে যায়। জাস্ট উই হ্যাভ টু কনসেন্ট্রেট হোয়াট উই আর ডুইং অ্যান্ড হোয়াট ইজ আওয়ার টার্গেট, and goal set করে কাজ করলে হবে। There is a lot of way to eliminate নকল, this is nothing big deal, but আমরা পুরনো স্টাইলে চলছি তো সেই জন্য এখনো। এনিওয়ে, তোমার প্রশ্নের জন্য ধন্যবাদ।